Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to SevTech Ages. You'll notice I have some arrows in me. I got pelted by a couple bow skeletons. I'm currently on the server right now with Galahad and Raven, and I've been doing a bit of work. If we pop over here, I'm ready to show you it's not done. I'll go ahead and tell you. The floor isn't even all in, so if that tells you anything. But I'm ready to show you what's down here. Okay, now all these double chests are just filled with junk. This will be sorted out once we get into drawers. So this one is one I just put down because I'm still clearing in here a little bit for the floor, and then this is just the first chamber of a few chambers that'll be tied to blood magic as well as abyssal craft. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and let's do this. That door's actually probably going to open the other way, by the way. But anyways, this is what I've been working on. This monster of a structure. I'm planning on adding a lot of like greenery and kind of having it a little bit overgrown, because I think for this build I'm wanting to go, instead of having just the like really super dark blood magic like what I did in Divine Journey, I'm wanting more of like the primitive religion aspect of blood magic, where it's you know, more of that nature aspect, like what you know, what we're using for the incense altar, having the vines and the overgrowth and kind of like the Aztec aspect. That's what blood magic always makes me think of, is like, you know, the Aztecs, where they, you know, they would sacrifice people on the steps of the big temple and everything. That's what blood magic makes me think of. So that's what we're going to be going with this. It is a massive build. The floor is still probably going to come down a little bit, and this is not going to stay here. This is just because I was doing a lot of blood work here recently between episodes, because I actually wanted to go ahead and get a step ahead on our blood altar. So we're not going to be able to get a tier 3 blood altar until age 3, I don't think, because we can't get glowstone at the moment. But I did go ahead and grinded up runes. There are, all throughout here, there is 12 self-sacrifice runes and 8 speed runes on this tier. You know, 5 on each side. And it was brought to my attention the 4 cardinal runes are the only ones that count, even in this version, until tier 3. So I went ahead and shifted, I put the self-sacrifice on the cardinal directions, I put the speed runes on the side, on the corners there, and that's due to the fact that it boosted my blood generation, and I was using it for filling up the orb after finishing out all these runes. So this the runes took about 30 minutes. I had to make, what was it, 56 blank slates and 12 imbued slates? Or not imbued, but reinforced. So I went ahead and put those down so I could go ahead and put the stairs over them and just kind of forget about that. And then I've got everything in place, like you can see right there where the crystal clusters are going to go, where the bloodstone bricks are going to go, where the glowstone's going to go. Now once we get to the tier 3 altar, I'm actually going to test it and see if I can use the green schist pillars in place of the block, because if I could and have them supporting the glowstone, I think it would really look a lot better. But I'm not for sure with it not being a solid block. Like when I put the pillar down, it still shows the block there around the pillar. It may just be with the ghosting blocks, or it may not work. I'm not for sure. So you can see in here I've got a bunch of stuff that I was using. By the way, this right here, this recipe does not show up. So I do want to show you, if you're doing any of the blocks from Primal Core, none of the recipes show up for any of it. What you do is just do like that, and then you get smooth stone, and then you can do stacked, and then bricks, cobblestone, and then back to smooth. And then if you want the pillars, you just do like that. And that's how you get the pillars. So, and that works for, I guess, pretty much all the ones I messed with, it worked with. So you can see where I needed the betweenlands for this, for the between stone. It's a mix of brick slabs and cracked brick slabs, which do have to be smelted to make these, so that's fun. And then pitstone bricks from where we came across that pitstone at the end of last episode. I went back down there and I farmed a bit. I did run into a wight, and I managed to kill him, actually fairly easily, which I'm sure we'll be encountering quite a bit of those moving forward, so just a heads up. And then I've got slate roofs, and these are red terracotta shingles. The ceiling is a mix of cobblestone, and then it is sarsen stone, bluestone, and I've got just a little bit of lapis up there, which by the end of the episode we'll be able to see the roof a bit better. So I just haven't lit it up yet, but we're going to. So that's the project I've been working on. Like I said, it's far from done because I'm planning on having places where the wall is broken open, and you know, some of the greenery, some of the plant life is coming out of the walls. I'm thinking about maybe doing a couple big roots that come out and kind of wrap around and connect. You know, maybe like a root coming out from here and connecting up to there, and then maybe another root that comes out and connects up, and you can kind of like walk underneath it, and just some things like that. So yeah, it's been a lot of work. It has been a ton of work. So anyways, today the first thing that I want to get into is I want to get into sigils and upgrading our Tartaric Gm and getting our Sentient Sword and all that fun stuff. All that very, very fun stuff. So let me go ahead and grab our Hellfire Forge and set this back up. Like right there is fine. Okay, and we did make a Tartaric Gem, a petty Tartaric Gem a bit back. So we'll go ahead and snag that, and that's going to be the main thing I think that we need. The Sentient Sword. Okay, if we take a look at this, you'll notice it doesn't require any wheel to craft this. It does require a demonic wheel of some sort in this slot, and it requires a petty Tartaric Gem, which does require one wheel. So I am going to have to go out and get one wheel, which means I have to make more snares, which is kind of icky. Oh, by the way, down around the blood altar, I did have slime spawn. So I have some slime balls. I have around, I don't know, like 16 or 20 slime balls. I'm not for sure. They haven't spawned since I dropped the floor down a little bit, and I don't know if that's just luck or if it is, I don't know. I shouldn't be out of their effective radius if it's a slime chunk. I'm not for sure if it's a slime chunk, but I'm assuming that it probably is due to the fact that I had a bunch spawn down there. And of course, they're not affected by light levels. So I imagine we may see more of them in the future. And I tell you what, I've got some black fleece here. I'm going to use this and just break it down with our shears to get the string that we need. I accidentally brought the Symarite shears back with us, but that's fine. They're actually a pretty good shear for this point in the pack, I feel like. Okay, just got a skeleton down here. This is actually where I farm Corellium. Is down in this little mine, which was mostly uncovered by the explosions here. Okay, we got our Tartaric Gm has a little bit of wheel in there, so that's what we were after. Oh, I didn't even think about. Well, it's, you know what? It's because I used the snare. For a second I was like, now wait a second, am I getting wheel without having a wheel sword? But yeah, never mind. It's a derp. That only happened if you have a Tartaric Gem in your inventory and you don't have, it's not field, then the wheel is going to go into that Tartaric Gem whenever you use a snare. That's fine. That gives us enough wheel to do what we need to do. So we'll put this in here, and then we'll put our Shadow Fragment, our Ash, Blue Dye Powder, and this drives me insane that it has to be in like perfect order. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and actually make 2 of these because we're going to need them. So why not? There we go. And then for our Sentient Sword, all it requires is over here. By the way, I did make a bunch of arrows. I made a full stack of the craft, so I got 4 stacks of arrows right now. Okay, so we're going to need to get ourselves... And don't mind those random explosions. They happen all the time. Oh, now wait a second. And don't worry, my direwolf building is still very direwolf looking. So... It's gonna get better, I promise. I'm planning on spending probably the majority of the weekend doing chisels and bits on the totems. So just a heads up as to what to expect with the coming weekend. Okay, so Iron Sword, Petty Tartaric Gem goes right there, and then we'll put this one in here. It doesn't drain anything. Doesn't need to go. I don't know when. It didn't used to be order specific to my knowledge. It drives me insane. Okay, so we got the Sentient Sword. What this does is, for starters, when we kill mobs with this, it will fill up our Tartaric Gem. And then in addition, probably the best part of this is that as wheel builds up, it generates more wheel, and it also does more damage and stuff. And we can do special types of wheel, which we'll get into probably pretty quick within this pack. Just because of the fact that we don't have access to really OP things. So blood magic is going to be a very effective, combat component, I guess would be the best way to put it. And we are going to be using a bit of blood magic and the wheel system and everything to kind of boost up our damage. Alright, but we're going to grind up wheel. You can see it's got 4.66 in there at the moment. And actually this little area up under here is a great spot for mob grinding. Awesome. Great. It's also a great place to have explosions too. Which actually didn't destroy all that much, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, but what we want to do is we want to basically fill up this Tartaric Gm, ideally. You could say we've got 15.54 in there at the moment. Okay, I did a bit of grinding. We now have 61.68 wheel in this, which is perfect. And then what we're going to do is put this Tartaric Gem right there, and then take our petty, and then we can upgrade this. Let's see. If you look right here, lesser Tartaric Gem, which is interesting because that actually doesn't show up in any eye, but it's valid for this age, since it doesn't say, you know, we're not in the right age for it. So what we're going to do, it's Fermented Spider Eye, Shadow Gem Shard, Bronze, and then Petty Tartaric Gem, and then it requires a minimum of 60 wheel in the Tartaric Gem. It's going to drain 20 of that to upgrade this. So that'll be fine. That will be fine. So that, and then we need our Fermented Spider Eyes. There's 2 of those, and then there's that. Our Petty Tartaric Gem got drained a little bit, and then we have our Lesser Tartaric Gem with nothing in it. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up for one more of these. I'm going to craft one more just so that we already have it, because you're going to kind of want to piggyback these as you level them up. My XP is bugged because I just came back from the Betweenlands, the Beneath, but I did die. I had like quite a few days of a no death streak, you know, and I did die. And it was kind of unexpected. I was down in the Beneath fighting zombies. I was kind of chaining the zombie awareness mod because it spawns additional zombies. I was using that to spawn Tartaric Gems, or spawn wheel, or farm wheel, which I did upgrade this one, by the way. And I filled this Tartaric Gem up before I came back. And then I guess I had looked at an Enderman somewhere along the road, and he came right up behind me, and they hit like a truck, by the way. He like two-shotted me. I wasn't at full health, but it did hurt. It hurt pretty bad. Okay, so anyways, we've got our Tartaric Gem. So what I would like to turn our attention towards is sigils. It's time we use blood magic to kind of upgrade our utility, I guess. So there's a couple sigils that I'm going to make. I'm not going to make all of them on camera because we've covered them once before. I'm going to cover them once more, then I'm going to make the rest of these off camera. So the first one that I want to make is the Sigil of Holding. It requires a holding reagent, which is a couple pieces of string, some leather, and a chest of any sort. Okay, let me go grab that stuff real quick. Okay, I got everything together that we need. I got 5 reinforced slates because that's the number of sigils that we're going to be making right now. One thing I did not think about, and I just thought about while I was doing this, crafting the blank slates. Blank slates are a little bit of an issue because you can't leave the stone in there, right? Because if you leave it in there, it's going to start trying to transform into a reinforced slate. And we don't have any item conduits or anything, but what you could do is put a hopper and have it... I would put in just however many blank slates you actually want so you don't end up wasting blood. And bear in mind that the limit on this is like 10,000 blood that you can have in here. So at best, if you fill it up, you could do like 10 blank slates at a time. Put like 10 stone in there, and then put a hopper on the bottom of it, or put an upper. These are basically upside down hoppers that pull items from the block below them. And hoppers have an inventory slot, so what you could do is your output, like your upper or your hopper beneath it. Because you can have the hopper feeding into the side of this, and then have the upper, so it's a little bit easier to access. But your hoppers have an inventory, so you could just put 5 blank slates in there and not connect it to like a chest or anything, and then it would only pull out blank slates, and it would pull out blank slates whenever the item changed over to a blank slate. So you could use that if you want to make crafting up a bunch of blank slates. Like if you're doing the runes, it would make it a little bit easier for mass producing those. But anyways, I went ahead and prepped everything that we're going to need. So the first thing that I want to craft is the Sigil of Holding. And so what we're going to do, we're going to put our Tartaric Gem in there. By the way, one thing I want to show you guys, just really, really quick. The Sentient Sword, by default, it only does 1 half heart of damage. This one does 8. That's because I have a Tartaric Gem here with wheel stored up in it. So the more wheel that you have stored in your Tartaric Gem in your inventory, the more damage that your sword's going to do. So just bear that in mind. So anyways, we'll go ahead and throw this stuff into there. It's going to need... It's like that. And we'll go ahead and get that crafted up. And then I'm also going to want... I'm going to go ahead and get a Sigil of the Green Grove just because it's handy to have. There's our holding reagent. We'll just go ahead and like mass produce these things out. Let's see, let's get our Arcane Ashes. And we'll go ahead and put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles there. And I'll just dump that into there. This should be done, our growth reagent. Sigil of the Blood Lamp. I would like to have this, which is a candle, a torch, and 2 ash, which I have that. Oh, but I don't have enough wheel in this. It's a minimum of 200. Okay, so I'm going to have to go farm up just a little bit more wheel. We'll go ahead and get these 2 running real quick. So, growth reagent in this one, holding reagent in that one, and then we'll right-click it and get those running. You can see this one actually has the full circle. This one has work in progress, but... And there's our Sigil of Holding, and then there is our Sigil of the Green Grove. Now what we can do is we can hit H on this, and we can set sigils into this. So we're going to go ahead and put our... We'll put our Sigil of the Green Grove and our Divination Sigil in there. And then we can just, if we hold Shift and scroll wheel, we can scroll between our different sigils here. So, and it'll tell you what you're holding right now. Okay, and I've got a bit more wheel in the Tartaric Gm. Really quickly though, I'll show you what the Sigil of the Green Grove does, which I've got 25,000 life points in our network at the moment. So what we can do, if I was to harvest a little bit of this stuff, and shift right click, you can see that it's creating a bone meal effect around me. Oh, and I just crashed, I guess. Okay, for the record, don't use Sigil of the Green Grove right now. From what I read, the most recent update to Blood Magic fixes it, but the pack's not running that version of Blood Magic, so it does cause you to crash. And we had to delete my player, or not my player data, but my Sigil of Holding. We had to delete that, and then I had to cheat that back in. I also cheated back in my Sigil of the Green Grove. I tucked it away for when that update hits and fixes it, but I had to get back my sigils. So, but we are back to where we were, and I went ahead and got a little bit more wheel in here, so we're up to 232, so we can make our blood lamp stuff now. So we'll go ahead and get that running, and then in addition, I also want to make this right here. This is for Sigil of the Fast Miner, which requires iron pick, iron axe, iron shovel, and then gunpowder. So there's our blood lamp reagent, and then we'll get our stuff for Sigil of the Fast Miner. We'll get that going, and then I also want Winter's Breath, which is snow, 2 snowballs, and ash. I did go up on one of the big mountains nearby, and it's 1 snow. I made 2. That's fine. Mining reagent. I went up on one of the big mountains when I cut earlier to go get all the resources together and just got some snow. Okay, so we'll go ahead and apply our reagents to our last 3 circles, and then right click those and get those going, and we'll get our last 3 sigils. So my Sigil of Holding, I could make the Sigil of Elasticity. I'm not too worried about that because I'm generally wearing my slime boots, so I don't mind it too much. Okay, let's go ahead and we're just going to right click. Uh-oh. Don't crash. Come on. The Sigil of the Blood Lamp. They've been using it on the server, I know. Okay, back in here again. I hate loading up this pack. It takes forever. Okay, everything's bound. It did bind. It just crashed whenever I was binding. We're going to put Sigil of the Blood Lamp and our Sigil of the Fast Miner and Winter's Breath in here. And so what these do, let's see, Blood Lamp, what we can do, yeah, got that one selected. We can shoot light, like that. And it's going to be really handy for going into like the beneath, stuff like that. We can also light up our ceiling, and it's just like little orbs, and you'll see they flash ever so often, but they're not as clunky as having like a light up there. Plus we don't have access to like glowstone and stuff at the moment. I do have a little bit of glowstone from witches, but I can't use it, you know. I have no use for it at the moment, so. And we'll just kind of light up our ceiling. I'm probably going to light up the walls a bit too, but I'm not exactly sure how I want to do that just yet. And then our Sigil of the Fast Miner, this is one I kind of wish that I'd had like when I was clearing this area out. But what we can do is if we shift right click and activate this, it's going to give us haste. So just basic level haste. It's not haste 2 or 3 or anything like that, but it does allow us to mine a little bit faster, which is always nice, to say the least. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because it does drain through life points pretty quickly. I know Sverd said it drained his entire 2500 LP network in the course of about 8 minutes, I think he said. But we're still setting at 24,250, which isn't too bad. Blood Lamp doesn't consume a whole lot. And then we also have Winter's Grasp, which I'm going to go out actually a little ways before I use this. If I recall, this should thaw pretty quickly, but I want to make sure. Actually, let me go sleep. I love having slime boots because it's pretty much like having flight. It's basically what it is. It's like having flight. Especially once you get used to using it. But we'll come right over here, I guess. And so what Sigil of Winter's Breath does, if we shift right click and activate it, we can run across water and it turns to ice behind us. Now you'll notice these start turning white. Basically what's going to happen is they're going to crack. And disappear behind us. So we can use that to kind of cross across water. It's going to be really useful in the Betweenlands. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Ooh, but that does drain life points at a decent rate too, so that's something we're going to have to take into account because we are going to be eating through some life points now using these sigils. And we definitely don't want to use them once we've reached, or once we've run out of life points because it does damage to us. Which could be bad, especially with constant effect sigils. They can quickly eat your life points away. Okay, and one other thing that I would like to make before we move on is I would like to make us a bow upgrade. So what we're going to need is, what does it take? Petty is ash, bronze, blue, and shadow. We're going to make ourselves a Sentient Bow, which does require another lesser Tartaric Gm, 2-string, and a bow. But luckily, I mean, these really aren't hard to craft. I think it's like this. Yes. Okay. See, I've made enough of these, like this episode, that I'm starting to remember the recipe. That's bad. Okay, so bow, GM, like that. Okay, so this is all the stuff I got while farming. Wheel. And there we go, Sentient Bow. And the nice thing about this bow, we can lose Baycock's bow. It has a little bit higher durability. But the nice thing about the Sentient Bow is it gets a damage boost based on the wheel in your Tartaric Gem. And we should be all set. I do need to get the wheel on this built back up, but we'll get that up naturally as we move forward. So, but now we're all geared up with blood magic. And really, I mean, there's not a whole lot within blood magic that we can do outside of that stuff. I mean, if you take a look at blood magic, I mean, we can't do the better brick paths. We can't do anything until the next age. There is, oh, the Tome of Perennial. Arcane Scroll. Oh, we need imbued slates, though, for that. Man, I was really excited because this thing, we could store up all of our XP so we don't lose it in the event that we die. Because we're about to hit some stouter stuff, like in the Betweenlands, but I'm hoping that if we kind of balance it out and we kind of gear up as we go from the Betweenlands, then we'll be able to handle it. So, but I am hoping next episode, I'm hoping we'll be doing storage drawers. I just have to build out the area for that. So we're not going to do it this episode. So this episode, for the rest of it, we're going to go back into the Betweenlands again. And we're going to explore the lower sections of the caverns. And take on the mobs there and try to find some item scrolls and some stuff like that. And probably do some crafting. I don't know that we'll get into the alchemy today, but we are going to start getting into alchemy before too long. Both Betweenlands and advanced alchemy. By the way, you can see where that tree's gone. I chopped that down because I'm thinking about using those weedwood logs for making the roots that are in our thing. And this right here, I was digging between stone for the build, and I actually dug down and connected into... actually by accident, but I connected into our cave system. So we can actually come over here and then right up this. I've made this run so many times, like of late. And then we go right down here, and this is going to take us to our pitstone pit. And this is where I've been mining pitstone for the build. If you couldn't tell, in case you couldn't tell. guess what? Good time to try out this bow. Oh, these tools though are so nerfed here. I don't even think it's worth using it. Luckily, swamp hags, well, they do pose a threat when they're in large numbers like that. And you know what? I actually don't know why I brought torches when I have this. Don't ask me, I'm losing my mind, I think. See, I can light this up from afar. It's still dark, but that's because the Betweenlands has like a shadow effect. Okay, there's one down. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Oh. There are so many hags around here. Guess I should play it safe. Look at that. And they're all gemmed out and everything. Like, oh my gosh. It's terrible. Okay, I can get them to fall down though, and then it's not such a bad thing. Even though I really need to go down there where they're at. But I can wait. I can travel a little bit farther down through here. And yeah, come to a place like this. And I can actually kill them when they're in the water. They move a whole lot slower. There we go. Man, they do so much damage, though. Okay, here's Scabbist ore. I think we're going to need a better pick for this. Yeah. Oh, no! Here comes the horde. I can cut them off right here though and take care of them. Man, there's so many swamp hags. They had to have been like somehow building up when I was mining pitstone or something. And these guys, the ones with the red gems, they deal damage to you when you hit them. So just a heads up. That's why I was like, that's what that dinging thing was, and why I was taking damage from that. It was because they hurt you. And by the way, it doesn't happen to be... No, that's not it. Best thing to do with these is just pull them out to the land if you can. And they actually will die over time being out of the water. Oh, we got some angler teeth. That is something that... That's also something that we're going to be needing before too long. Okay, I'm making little like breathing holes to go through here because I do need to explore this water down here at the bottom of the caverns. Oh, God. Terrifying, I tell you what. Okay. And I've been through this area slightly. Yeah, right up there is where we knocked the swamp hags down. This might be an alright place to check out. Because we're looking for those stalagmites that grow. Or stalactites, I don't know which one it is. They can actually spawn an ore on them. And that's what we're looking for at the moment. But it's fairly uncommon to find. So... Oh, Valentine. And we're also looking for the little, like, buildings and stuff that spawn down here as well. Actually, out of curiosity, what is our Y level at the moment? Because we may not even be deep enough. Well, where in the world? Oh, we're Y16 right now, so we should be able to find what we're looking for. It's just, like I said, it's very, very rare to come across it, so... Oh my gosh, look at this. Just Swamp Hag City up in here. By the way, there is a Betweenlands bow you can make, or there's actually a couple of them. but I don't know. I kind of like my Sentient Bow. Sentient Bow is going to be better once we hit like Twilight Forest. Right now in the Betweenlands, since everything's nerfed, it's not as good, but still not a terrible bow though. We're getting a decent amount of those shards built up. And right now, yeah, see, this isn't even scratching our life points at the moment. And I can just kind of like light up these tunnels to make them a bit safer for us. And the main thing at this stage is just take it slow and be safe. That's the best thing to do. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good place that we could probably maybe find some of the ore that I'm looking for. I don't need a ton of it to get started. I just need like 1 or so, I'd say. Now, the ore does emit light, so if you come across it, it's generally underwater. It can be above water. Actually, right here is what I'm looking for. This is perfect. Okay, I thought I saw an angler. And there's actually a few pieces of it. Sometimes you'll run across it. I know in Divine Journey it wasn't quite as rare as it seems to be in this one. I'm going to deal with this little problem before it becomes a problem. These things aren't too bad when you get them like one-on-one, but when they start swarming you, that's when they're bad, because they hit harder than zombies do, and they're faster than zombies are. Uh-oh. Nope. Don't want that. Come in the water. I like you guys more in the water. Okay, that seems to be taken care of, and I've got that well lit up now. So you see that little bitty white band that's on this? We can actually mine this off, and we get a new ore. If you take a look here, we have a life crystal, 99% remaining. That's what we're looking for. And I would honestly like to get a few of these. I see another one right over here. There is a crawler maul right here, but these guys are actually super easy. One of the easier mobs in the Betweenlands, I feel like. I mean, there's a couple other easy ones like some of the snails and stuff like that, but there's another life crystal for us. And I might keep following this down. Oh, you did follow me. I was wondering where you went. Honestly, I probably should have made an Octane sword before we came out, but that's fine. This sword does fine. The bone sword, it's really not a bad sword at all. But sometimes you will find those on the stalactites, right? That's the ones that are growing downwards, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on that, that's their name. But sometimes you'll find the ore on those, the ones that are growing down. But it's fairly uncommon because most of the rocks that you're going to come across are the ones that are going up. Because they're, you generally find them really, really low. But if you find one of those underwater caves where you're kind of like swimming up underneath the cave, you can come across them on occasion, but it's going to be the other way around. Hey, there's one of the structures we're looking for. Awesome. I'm going to pop it down in here, though, before we check out the structure, because I do see this, and I want to grab it. As much of this life crystal that we can get, the better. Oh, there's cave fish. They make like a chainsaw sound. Like, let's get this. We got 2, it looks like, here. We got 1 at the top. And then we got 1 down here at the bottom. And you do have to mine these separately. Honestly, we're doing pretty good. I was expecting to find like maybe 1 of them. Which I am going to have to start heading up before too long because I'm getting low on food. I should have brought more food with me, but that's fine. Like, the melon pie recipe was changed so that it requires the kiln now, and I'm on my last melon pie. I knew that change was coming up, so I stocked up on melon pies before it did, just so I wouldn't have to, like, find an alternative food source, but it's about that time that we're going to have to do that. Okay, now I know there's some hags around here and a crawler maul. Cairo maul, whatever. Alright, let's do this. Now these structures they're not really filled with mobs or anything like that. They're just underground ruins. I love those little like biome or structure pop-up things. Like, they're so cool. And sometimes you'll find a bunch of these together. I don't think we've had such luck. It looks like just the one, which is fine. Yeah, and see these right here, pots of chance. Break these and you'll get stuff. So I got Angry Pebbles and Reed Donuts. And Explorer's Entries. Dungeon Shrine, we'll read through those here in just a little bit. Termites, that's fine. They're not that hard to kill. And we'll just go through and break all of these little things. Okay, looks like we got 12 Octane. We got Lurking Shadows, which basically you can open these up and read them. I'm not going to read them right now because we're kind of in a dangerous place. I also got a bunch of balls of sap. We got some marshmallows. Yeah. Not really the stuff that I was looking for, but that's fine. Still beats nothing, I guess. And I believe there's an advancement for... Yeah, there's that Cairo Mall. There's an advancement tied to opening like 10 pots of chance or something like that. But I will say those little structures, since they're kind of like a freebie as far as items go, their loot tables are not that great. Oh, and I got more Valenite. So we got 8 on us, and I think we got like 3 back at the house, or back at the portal tree. Something like that. We've actually came out a pretty far ways. So I am going to want to start heading back soon. Very, very soon. Hey, there's another structure. Aha! Let's go over there. And I see Life Crystal. It's a big lake, though. Kind of makes me nervous jumping in there. I probably will, because we're going to need that Life Crystal more and more as the farther we progress in the Betweenlands. Oh, there you are. So these are really easy to deal with when they're by themselves. Like when there's not a horde of them chasing you, they're not too bad. Yeah, I don't know why I brought those torches, though. Okay, this one we have 2 pots of chance. I hear a hag somewhere, though. So... Oh, we got the pothead advancement. We also got some reed rope. We got some Cymerite, jam donuts, Aspectra seeds. Awesome. I will definitely take that stuff. And see, I would love to go down there for that life crystal, but there's anglerfish all up in there. So honestly, I think I might cut my losses for right now. Or count my blessings, I guess. I didn't really lose much of anything, I guess. Actually did fairly well on this first dive into the caverns. I was hoping for maybe an item scroll, but we didn't quite get that lucky, but that's fine. Those aren't very common from pots of chance out of the caverns. Now, question is, do I want to try to find my way back through the dungeon to where we first came down at, or do I just want to mine up and travel up from here? And I'm kind of thinking just going from here. Okay, I just got up out of the caves. Our home is off in that direction. I actually came up in the middle of the water, and there's anglerfish around here. But I tell you what we could do. We'll activate our sigil. Oh, it doesn't work with... Oh, it doesn't work with Betweenlands water. That actually ruins my plans a little bit. That's fine. This does work very effectively as well. Most creatures in the game are not immune to pillar mechanics. By the way, running through the swamp pitch dark like this is terrifying. Just for the record. Because there's all kinds of like nasty creatures and you can't see any of them. I'm gonna light this area up here up too. Yeah, we got 4 life crystals, which I don't have space for them in here right now, but that's fine. We did get those 2 entries, the Lurking Shadows. We're going to go ahead and read through these really, really quick. Lurking Shadows, it says, it's them. They're not done with my soul. I keep running farther and farther away, running blindly towards the looming fog, and yet they pursue faster than me, surrounding me, unending spirits, gazing ominously. I don't understand what they want from me. Wherever I see them, I get too close. Or whenever I see them, whenever I seem to get too close to one of them, they vanish into the mist, but they're always following, close behind, driving me slowly insane. And if you look on there, you can actually see the little silhouette people. These will appear like just off in the distance. And there's actually a couple places, I believe the White's Fortress is one of them, where they actually get closer to you before they vanish. It's kind of creepy, actually. And then this one is talking about the dungeon shrines. It says, these shrines are found in the most despicably creepy and frightening of places. Vast flats of nothing but mud that wants to swallow you, and sludge that clings to you, pulling you down. Ugh. And the floating crystals at the center of these shrines, they seem to attract more of these ghosts and some rotting undead folk. I only just managed to take the loot before one of the ghosts suddenly turned into some sort of soul thing that flew towards me and chased me off. Either way, some interesting treasures was to be found here, some ingots of a blue metal, and some odd music disc. I played it and had a rather terrifying recording on it. Strange what could have happened to whoever was in that. Now, I'm going to pop back down to the mines real quick because I want to get one thing in particular that we haven't covered yet, and that's limestone. Because I want to grind that up. We actually have an advancement. It's the last advancement, I think, in the miner category. And then in addition, it's going to allow us to ore double, just kind of as we want to. And there's actually limestone right here. Okay, and then what I'd like to make, now that we've got our limestone, let's make a mortar and pestle. So the mortar is just crag rock and some weedwood sticks. Pestle is weedwood sticks and crag rock. Let me grab a little bit of this, and let me pop out and get some weedwood. Oh, this is that really dense fog. And actually, we might see some of those shadow people off in the distance, those silhouettes. Okay, so there's our mortar, and there is our pestle. This thing is going to be super important for us as we move forward. It's pretty much like a must-have if you want to get into the alchemy. And then in addition, also ore doubling and just tons of things. So what we're going to do, we're going to put our limestone in here, and then what we can do is, that's right, it's left click. I was trying to right click and I kept opening it and all that mess. So we left click, and I believe you can hold it. No, because it's going to break it if we do. Yeah, you're not going to be able to hold it, but you can see it's breaking up that limestone and it's creating limestone flux every time we turn this. And then we can take that limestone flux and we can pop it into one of our furnaces right in that slot. And we got the Freebies Advancement, which I think is the last advancement, yeah, in Craftsman. I kind of wish you could turn these off once you're done with them. Which it looks like some of our stuff has been updating. Like, follow my channel, please. We totally did that. That one we have not done. Oh. It was probably a change to it, I imagine. But this one we have not done. This is a new one involving water strainers, which, like I said, we're going to get into those at some point. We just haven't yet. And then if we were to pop our Symarite ore in here. Okay, last time whenever we cooked this up, it only gave us one ingot. Now there's a chance that with the limestone flux, we're going to get 2. It's not a 100% chance. It does still consume a flux, even if we don't get the double. So, but I think it's about a 50% chance, or it was, I think, in Divine Journey. Yeah, so there we go. We got 2 on that one. And also, you just bear in mind, your pestle does have durability too. You can see 90% remaining. You don't have to replace the mortar, just the pestle whenever it breaks. And it's really, really cheap to do, so. Okay, now there's one thing else. There's one other thing I would like to do this episode before we end out. I'll jump into there, ideally. I want to look around here since we have all this water nearby. Just want to have a look around and see if we happen to have any middle gem ore. Which I will say, oh, there's some. That's green middle gem. I think for the smeltery, we actually need to get blue. But any middle gem at all, I think I see red. Is that red right there? No, that's just a fern. But right over here is green middle gem. This can spawn anywhere there's water. And it will spawn under the water in the mud. Let me grab that. Okay, so we got our very first middle gem ore. And this is going to open up the way for a lot of really cool advancements. Okay, so it looks like we can use the Crusher to get 2 of them. Or we use the Purifier, which is the normal route, to get 1 of them. So I guess that's the route that we're going to take. So the Purifier is just weedwood and octane. Let's pop over here and get that. And the blue gem, basically there's red, green, and blue. And each one has like different abilities. We're going to get into those. actually have just enough wheat wood. We're going to start getting into those like here very, very soon, because that's going to be key for really upping our armor and stuff in the Betweenlands, but we're also going to be using this armor for the Twilight Forest as well. Actually, the Purifier does require fire underneath it, doesn't it? No, actually, no it doesn't. It just requires sulfur. That's right. Go ahead and grab a piece of this sulfur and pop that into there. Pop our green middle gem ore, and then we need swamp water. Okay, so let's get ourselves a bucket. And there's also weedwood buckets, but I believe we can get it in just our clay buckets, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, swamp water clay bucket. And we can just dump it into there, and it's going to start running. You can see it's processing that green middle gem ore that we found. And I think the smeltery is really, if we want to get the smeltery controller, yeah, just aqua middle gem and seared bricks. Now it does consume the whole sulfur, so there's not really any point in building that stuff up. And you can see it used up just a little bit of our swamp water there. And we got our first middle gem, our green middle gem. Which actually this is the one that I really like, because you'll notice when on tool there's a chance to heal when you're attacking, and when it's on armor there's a chance to absorb damage when attacked. So that is something that we definitely want. Now I'd like to have a quick run around and look to see around this water if there's any more like near the bank here. Ideally a blue. We don't really have time this episode to get into the smeltery. But maybe next episode we might, if I can find a blue middle gem. Oh, the green middle gem is for the Tinker tank controller. Oh, I see another green gem. Not quite the one that I was looking for, but hey, I'm going to take it. Oh, there's another green one down there. But there's also a bunch of lurkers around it. It's right by that tree there. But I'm actually kind of scared. Hey, there's a white. Okay, I want to show you these guys. These guys are really cool. One thing to note, if you sneak when you're near them, but if you sneak when you're near them, they won't be able to detect you. And by the way, if you have access to these weedwood bushes, they're really awesome because you can sit inside of them and just beat on things, and they're not going to be able to get to you. Uh-oh, okay. This attack right here, he turns into like a floating head, and he will try to attach himself to nearby creatures. That includes you. And what happens is if he gets on a creature, he's going to start shooting ranged attacks. And that's really the only thing to worry about for him. That's really his main attack. He just kind of runs around, but like I said, if you sneak, they're blind. So their detection's all based on sound, if I recall. And you can actually just sneak right past them if they're giving you any troubles. So, oh, I see, I think blue middle gem over here. I do. And then I see another green one over there not too far from it. I do need to eat, though. This longsword, it's wonderful, but it does consume a little bit of hunger. That green middle gem, I've got to have it because, like I said, we're going to be using a lot of these green middle gems in the future. So I definitely want these things. I kind of wish I had a crusher, but a crusher's pretty far away. So, okay, so we ended up getting, 5 green middle gems, and then we got 2 aqua middle gems, which isn't too bad for our first little foray into getting those. Now over here, Valentine, we have 11 shards. Is that all we've got? I think it is. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and make ourselves a Valentine chestplate. This thing right here. That's amazing armor. And then, yeah, I don't really have any more Valentine for anything. And then what we can do, we can bind our green middle gem, chance to absorb damage when attacked. It's pretty nice. Also, the other gems, the red one gives you a chance to hurt the enemy when you're attacked. If you recall, that one mob had a red gem, so I was getting hurt whenever I attacked it. And then the blue gem, chance to gain defense when attacked. But I think I like the absorb, being able to just absorb some of that damage. So we're going to go ahead and bind that. You'll notice that the chestplate gets kind of like a green gem on it. And there we go. We got the fashionable warrior achievement. And I'm going to put this away. because this does build up corruption, so I'm not just going to wear it all the time, I don't think, because like this stuff doesn't build up corruption, or not corruption, but decay. And then we've got our blue middle gem running, which we'll be able to use this for our smeltery controller. I'm not for sure if there's any other use for this. No, I think it's really just binding. We are going to get into this. This is going to be for the alchemy stuff. But now there is a Valentine Sword that we could make, and it would give us a chance to heal when we attack. Which I tell you what, I think I'm actually going to make it. Just because, like later on, I'm not going to use it probably here too much. We'll see. We shall see. So you'll notice it has 2500 durability. It's pretty awesome. And then we can apply our green middle gem. So every time that we attack, there's a chance that we're going to heal based on the damage that we deal. So that's actually kind of a nice feature. I still need more Valenite because I've only got one, and I want to finish making the rest of the armor set and binding middle gems to it. So I'll probably work on that between episodes. And you know what, actually? Let's go ahead and take this and this. And what we're going to do is our Scabbist that we got. I don't have enough for all of this. Can you not... oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't affect... Decay doesn't affect armor. I don't know what I'm thinking. What we can do is we can take our Scabbist and wrap it on... I don't think it has to... Yeah, it doesn't have to be. We'll just wrap it all around our Valentine Sword. And you can see right there below good as new, it says well coated. Okay? And what well coated is going to do, and what that Scabbist is for, is that decay. Like you can see the bone sword moderately corroded. So as it corrodes, you know, it deals less damage. You can see right now it deals 4.26. And as it corrodes, which corrosion happens naturally as you just move around and it's in your inventory, keeping it in a backpack does not cause corrosion, which is kind of nice. But as you move around, it's going to slowly start getting corroded. Also, if you get in water, it gets corroded faster. And I can't remember, I want to say there's a mob that can deal corrosion, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that, because it has been a little while and I've only really done the Betweenlands in 1.7, you know, just going through there that one time. But that corrosion, there is a way to clean it off of there, and we'll get into that next episode. But if you use that Scabbist on there, since we started finding that, basically what it's going to do is it's going to give it a coating that's going to keep that corrosion off of there for a decent amount of time. And then once it wears off, then of course you can reapply that coating. But then if it starts to get corrupted or corroded, you can clean it as well. So just something to kind of bear in mind there. Anyways, I know it's about wrapping up point for this episode. We'll get into a bit more stuff next episode. I am probably going to do a little bit of farming between this episode and next. We'll see. Should have used my Valentine Sword so you can see how much damage it does. It's pretty stout. But I need to keep farming up this lurker skin because there is a set of armor that we can make with this. Like there's the chest plate, there's the legs, and we just need the headpiece and the boots. But once you have the full set, you actually get underwater set bonuses. That's why I'm wanting to farm those lurkers, and why I'm actually kind of happy that we're right next to the water like we are. Because with that set bonus, you can actually move around really, really fast underwater, and it's super useful for farming up middle gems that are down there in the bottom of the ocean, because it gives you like, it makes your breath last a lot longer, it makes you move faster, it makes you be able to see underwater, if I recall. It's like the whole shebang of water enchants. Okay, and one thing I wanted to cover just really, really quickly is the middle gem mechanics, because I haven't actually talked about those, and I did want to cover those since we're messing with middle gems. And I'm actually back in the overworld right now. I'm doing this after the recording. You have the three different gems, right? You have the crimson, the aqua, and the green. And you've seen that certain mobs have those, right? We ran into some that have red gems and blue gems and green gems. Now, basically, whatever mob you're fighting, if they have a gem, if they don't have a gem, regardless, the effects, like win on tool and win on armor effects, they still take effect. Okay, so like Crimson, chance to gain strength when attacking. It's going to apply a strength, I think it's a strength 2 buff temporarily. It has a chance to apply that and also increase knockback when you attack with it. And when it's on your armor, it gives you a chance to hurt the enemy when attacked. It's kind of like Thorns. I think it's Thorns 2 that it does. Aqua, the chance to weaken the enemy, it applies weakness. And then gain defense, you get resistance 2, I think, for that one. And then the green middle gem, you have a chance to heal when you attack, and I think it's like 50% of the damage. And then when it's on your armor, the chance to absorb, it gives you absorption 2 when that chance procs. Now you can actually have different types on different pieces of armor, but like let's say you stack green gems, it's going to increase that chance because you have more proc chances. Okay, so there's a benefit to going, you know, mixed matched or multiple, but these gems all have strengths and weaknesses to other gems. So like we ran into those, I think it was whites, or no, it wasn't whites, it was hags earlier that had the red gem, right? And it kept hurting me whenever I attacked it. If I was using, in that case, if I was using green gems, I would be doing less damage to that creature, and it would be dealing more damage to me. Okay, and then like red is strong against green but weak against blue. Blue is strong against red but weak to green, and green is strong against blue but weak to red. Okay, is the main thing to keep in mind. So if you have green being hit by red, it's going to take more damage. And if I recall correctly, don't quote me on this, but basically if your weapon has green on it, then it's going to deal more damage to blue and less damage to red. And if your armor is green, like where they're hitting you, it's going to take more damage from red and less against blue. But let's say you had a blue armor, it was all like blue, and then you had a green weapon. Well, your green weapon's going to deal less damage to the red, but you're going to take less damage from the red. So it's going to kind of null it out. So you can, if I recall, that's how that works. I remember messing around with it in a test world, but we didn't get into gems too much in Divine Journey because we had like crazy armor, you know, when we went in there. So if I recall, that's how that works, though. So, but just bear in mind that these gems all have strengths and weaknesses to other gems. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay up to date with when new videos come out. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. We're going to have quite a bit of fun here, as you can tell. And we're going to try to gear up because Twilight Forest, once we hit that, if we have Betweenlands gear, like the rings, the amulets, the gemmed armor and weapons and all that good stuff, and we have like a good Tinker's weapon going in, I think Twilight Forest is going to be fairly smooth for us. And then we'll have our bow and everything, of course, and sigils and all that good stuff, and potions from Advanced Alchemy and Betweenlands. Those will be nice too. So, but anyways, I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.